Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to a brand new edition of the Media Row podcast. I'm your host, Justin Miller. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's show. As you do each and every week, make sure, if you have yet, to click that subscribe button and follow us wherever you like to social media. That can be on TikTok, Instagram, and of course, Twitter. All of those at Media Row Pod is where you can find us. Missed a lot of coaches' interviews from last night's Drake men's basketball game, so make sure to go and check those out. We'll play a couple of clips from Coach Henderson in today's show, but we also like to break news on there, and that's where we'll be starting today because wasn't expecting this. Very shocked. I understand why it happened. Still shocked, and we'll be beginning today's show discussing how Brian Harden has to pull out that Google Doc sheet and go find a new Drake football head coach. As Coach Woodley resigns and decides to leave Drake University after one season, a successful season, a fun season, but will be leaving to go become a member of the defensive side of the ball with Rutgers football. Big jump. Great opportunity. I understand it. So after one season, he goes 8-4, 7-1, PFL championships. Don't miss a beat. The team played FCS opponents tremendously well. And yet, it's just so difficult for Drake and Drake fans to just continue to see hope, success, and then it gets stripped away. It's a tough stretch for Harden. I feel for Brian Harden. I know people say, it comes with the job. It comes with the job. I get that. Doesn't make it easier. I feel for him. If I was in that position, honestly, I think I'd be like, I'm done. I'm done with this headache year after year. I go out and I find these fantastic coaches, and I understand mid-major, the world of college athletics, you're not going to keep a coach 6+ years. Darren DeVries, we've talked about this over and over again. That was kind of an anomaly. But you do sit there and go, he was at Grandview for 17 years, or however long it was. Like, at least 3 years you're hoping for. Now, it's easy to sit there, and I saw some people get pissed off. I don't think they were necessarily pissed off at Coach Woodley, just pissed off at the situation, which I understand. As a Bulldog fan, I'm sitting there too going, what the hell? Like, I had just come back home, like parked my car, open up Twitter, and see Pete Thamel's tweet. I'm like, what the hell? I'm thinking about basketball season. I'm not thinking about football. They were just posting about signing day and all these great players coming to Des Moines and all the great opportunities. And you'd sit there going, what does Drake need to do? Tough situation for Drake too, more than other mid-major teams, is that you don't have scholarships to give out. So in the world of NIL, makes it really difficult. Really difficult. So it's okay to be pissed off, of course. It's okay to be upset. Try to take this as a positive. It's what I'm trying to do. Where it could be a worse scenario where Drake is having losing seasons and the 4 head coaches Brian Harden has had to replace are because they lose, and it's not because they're so damn successful. It can always be worse. And then the fact Brian Harden, I mean, that dude is the best athletics director in the Midwest. Not even just in Iowa, in the Midwest. What he's been able to do at Drake in Des Moines with the limited resources has been unreal. Look at basketball on both sides with Drake women and Drake men. Terrific hires. Jenny's now with Oklahoma, just promotes with them, with Allison, who's fantastic. The Drake men, we all know that, where it goes Nico, Darren, Ben, now Coach Henderson. And all the sports. Men's soccer is kicking ass. Women's soccer is kicking ass. There's no like scandals in any of these. He is finding the right fit. And it looked like it was perfect with Woodley, where you grab him from Grandview. He doesn't have to move his family. He can still drop his daughter off at school. It seems like it's a perfect fit. And when they don't even miss a beat, where they only lose one game in conference play, where they play South Dakota just as strong as ever before, you're sitting there feeling really good about, oh, Drake's going to be a powerhouse in the PFL, as long as they have Woodley. So I have a lot of confidence. I have a lot of faith in Brian Harden, as everyone I think does, to make the right hire. It could always be worse. It could always be worse. I will say that I was very confused, or not confused. I understand. You get the opportunity to move up to a Big Ten school. I think Woodley, in a sense, and this is me speculating, that I don't know anything. This, I feel like from an outsider's perspective, Woodley was like, I dominated NAIA. I dominated. And I just crushed at Drake too in 1 year. I need a challenge. And I need people to recognize me if I want to take that next step and be a Power 5 head coach one day. I think the way you and I don't think really gave him a fair look, which I think Stepsis is fantastic. I love Todd Stepsis. We've had him on the show before. He was the first coach I ever interviewed when I was at Drake, my first Drake interview. He's fantastic, and I hope he has great success at UNI. So I don't want to make it sound like I think UNI made a bad hire. I just think in some aspects, it feels like they didn't give Woodley a fair shot. And I think this is a step where if he's a part of a defense where Rutgers is kind of a mess right now, and all of a sudden they start competing, yeah, he's going to get picked up. And he's going to get the recognition he has well deserved. Well deserved. ESPN had him on the list of 100 coaches that will change the face of the game in the next century. Or decade, not century. Decade. So he has some recognition, but man, it feels like he has to make this move. If not now, when? So I don't blame him one bit. And it did catch me by surprise. I wasn't expecting him to leave this year. I wasn't expecting him to be a one and done after his track record with Grandview, but I don't blame him. And then I saw who the defensive coordinator is going to be with Rutgers, and it all connected, where I was like, oh, that makes way more sense now. And if you don't know, the coach that will be joining, or that Woodley will be joining on the defensive side of the ball, is Travis Johansson, who is the former South Dakota head coach. You heard Woodley in the 2 interviews we did with Woodley previewing I think it was like the second game of the year, and then, of course, the FCS playoff first-round matchup between the Coyotes and the Bulldogs. He spoke so highly of Travis Johansson, and that's because they are tight. Johansson worked under Coach Woodley at Grandview as like a defensive assistant, part of that coaching group on the defensive side when he was the defensive coordinator under his dad. Then when Woodley got promoted to head coach, he made Travis his defensive coordinator. And then Travis goes and becomes a defensive assistant with South Dakota, quickly moves up the ranks, is the head coach there. Woodley, of course, goes on to Drake. They have a tight connection, and it just makes so much sense that those two will work together. I believe Travis Johansson is a fantastic head coach. No wonder Woodley's excited to go there and help him out. because those two, Johansson could be a head coach for a Power Five team in the next 4 years easily, and he's going to bring Coach Woodley with him. So it's just abundance of opportunities, abundance for growth. Yeah, there's some risk involved, as with anything you take or you decline or agree to. There's always going to be risk, but there's so much more positive taking this step career-wise for Coach Woodley that I hope it works out. I really do. And before we dive into our next segment with kind of listing out a few possible names I think Brian Harden probably already has on his Google Doc, I do want to thank Coach Woodley. I don't even know if he's listening to this right now. He's probably busy. But I do really want to thank him. He treated me with the utmost respect. I've had coaches who, I look like I'm 15. I sound like I'm 15. I'm doing my own side podcast. I've had coaches kind of scoff at that, and you can feel it. He never made me feel that way. Treated me with respect, treated me as the same way he treats anyone in the local media, and was always so appreciative of me coming to games and doing the Wednesday with Woodley interviews. And it just meant the world to me that he was so willing to do that in his first year, while he has so many other things he has to do on his plate, that he's willing to hop on a Zoom call and record a 20-minute interview. And I always appreciated his answers too. Always gave great in-depth answers, and always never talked down. Made it feel like he was coaching. He was coaching the listener. I hope you felt that way. So I really appreciate Coach Woodley. I want nothing but the best. I would love to see him coach a Power 5 team in the next few years. He deserves it. He's a fantastic coach. Does suck though, as a Drake fan. It does. But we have a couple of names here that I think could be the next head coach at Drake. Brian Harden, he has that Google Doc. No off season for him. And Drake fans, no off season for us either. This will be the fourth head coach to leave in the last 4 years. One and dones, a couple of them. Darren, of course, stayed longer than most people expected. But here are a couple of names that I think could lead out the Drake Bulldogs onto the field this fall. I'm going to start with the Grandview head coach and EJ Peterson. I mean, it worked out last time we grabbed the Grandview head coach. Maybe they just become the pipeline for Drake. Talk about not missing a beat. We said Woodley didn't miss a beat coming from Grandview to Drake as they go 7-1 in the PFL. They win the championship, and they perform really well in the FCS playoff. EJ Peterson absolutely didn't miss a beat. In his first year, goes 14-0 and wins a national title. Like, Grandview loses the guy that helped create the team in Woodley and his family. And you're like, oh, this team may take a step back. They're talented where they're going to compete, but maybe they take a step back. Yeah, no, not at all. They hired within. EJ Peterson moves up the rankings. He was a part of those Woodley championship teams. And in 1 year, doesn't even lose a game, just keeps that Woodley streak going and wins the national title. Absolutely, I think would be a great hire. And a lot of people mentioned it. When Stepsis left and Drake was looking for a new head coach, everyone kind of looked around the room like, it's got to be Woodley, right? I'm getting the same feeling where everybody's like, screw it. Let's just go 15 minutes down the road and pick up Peterson. So that's the first name I have on my list. The other name I have down is Iowa Western head coach Scott Strohmeyer. Another guy we've had on the show, been fortunate enough to have on the show. And someone who is loyal, 17 years, the only head coach in Iowa Western history. And since 2021, has done nothing but win. Strohmeyer, either the runner-up or the national champions. He's won the title 4 times. He is a fantastic head coach and has that same, you talk to him or you watch him on the sideline, same mentality, same way he goes about his duties as Woodley, where you just see that guy and you go, oh, there's something different. He knows this game just as good as anyone at any level of college football. Scott Strohmeyer is a name I think a lot of people should be talking about to possibly take this Drake gig. So those are the 2 biggest names I have down that I think would be great opportunities. I would love to hear what you guys think. So put in the comments whether you're viewing on YouTube. You can also comment on Spotify and it'll work. Or comment to our Buzzsprout feed. But go ahead, put in some names that you think Drake could go after as well. Couple of players to keep an eye on. Drake already lost a huge player in their freshman running back, Nick Herman, who jumped into the transfer portal like last month or a couple of months ago. He is now at James Madison getting some more NIL, so good for him. Sucks for Drake, but he was a player we all saw his potential and how, man, after that FCS performance, after the performance against Morehead State to win the PFL title, everyone sat there and went, hopefully we can get him for one more year. He's at James Madison. Logan Inagawa has that same feeling. Young quarterback, great potential. He so far is staying at Drake, but man, you also had that feeling of hopefully we can keep him for one more year. Over 1,300 yards passing, nearly 1,400 yards, 9 touchdowns passing, and 9 touchdowns rushing. Very versatile. Also love just his demeanor. Very calm, collected, poised, for as young as he is. Came into that role. He had to fight and crawl to get that starting gig and really took advantage of his opportunities when he got them. That's a player you could see now leave with this coaching staff leaving. Sean Allison, I put on there just because of his talent. He's a guy that's already proven he's willing to stay at Drake. He's a Bulldog through coaching changes. Stayed as Stepsis left, stayed so far with Woodley leaving. But just, he's got the talent to really go anywhere. He is fantastic as a coach on the field. And at that linebacker position, does everything and more any coach would want to see from a starting linebacker. Over 110 total tackles and just is always where he needs to be. Never, I can say this, I'm sure Woodley Stepsis would point out mistakes he's made in the past. I don't see mistakes. That dude, he's just always where the ball is. And to me, that's what you want from a linebacker. And then the final name I have down is wide receiver Hank Foley. Just a big body, very athletic. So you could easily see some teams go after him. So that wide receiver core, just those X factor offensive players. If Foley leaves, if Inagawa leaves, Herman and both have already transferred, and both is a huge loss. But those are some names that could easily see depart. So Coach Woodley resigns, is headed to Rutgers, takes also Adam Cox with him. So the defensive coordinator for the Drake Bulldogs will need to be filled as well. Haven't heard anything about Kyle Kemp so far, so hopefully he sticks around. Maybe they promote him as well. I think I like the other 2 names just a little more just because of that experience side of things, but I wouldn't be angry if Kyle got the gig whatsoever. So tough day for the Drake Bulldogs on Monday, as it didn't get any better with Drake men's basketball as well. But before we jump to Drake men's basketball, you guys need to check out Kelly's Little Nipper at 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines. Kelly's Little Nipper, proud sponsor of the Media Row podcast, and we want you guys to go and support them because they have great food, great drinks, and of course, a better community as well. Kelly's Little Nipper, 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines, a proud sponsor of the Media Row podcast. So let's jump in to this Drake Valpo game. It was a battle we expected, as we knew this Valpo team was dangerous. The most improved team, in my opinion, in the Valley by far. But Drake loses by 5, 81-76. Losing record at home. Have now lost 4 straight. And you're seeing growth. You saw some adjustments defensively last night that were promising. It gets tiring, though, talking about kind of the same old, same old. It gets tiring talking about these losses. But it was a call and response game. Let's start there. Let's talk about these offenses. There wasn't a lot of great defense being played, but just a back and forth, haymaker after haymaker. Drake opened up the game, or Valpo, I apologize, opens up the game with a 13-5 lead through 4 minutes. They were hitting every three-pointer. They were 3 of 5. Drake had turnovers, foul issues. In the first 8 minutes, they had 6 fouls. And honestly, I recognized 2 of the refs from that Murray State game. And when that started to happen, I was like, ain't no way I'm going to sit here for 4 hours again seeing 18 fouls in 10 minutes. Luckily, I think Drake made some adjustments, adjusted to the whistle, but was definitely struggling in those early minutes from the tip defensively. Offensively, was very impressed with how well Drake responded. They were down 13-5, and they didn't hang their heads, and they got a lot of momentum from Jalen Quinn. And in those final 11 minutes, they adjusted defensively really well while not losing that edge, while not, just being passive. They were still in the pocket of Valpo, but they adjusted to the way the game was being called. Much better than what they did against Murray State, even though they ended up winning against the Racers. But it was just a back and forth game. Valpo, just some tremendous play from their guards. They got 23 points from Pettigrew. That's a career high for him. 20 points from Chaney, 10 points from Deese, 13 from the bench from Whittaker. That offense attacked Drake inside out, and Drake attacked them inside out as well, mostly from Jalen Quinn. And that's where this conversation kind of goes downhill. Because we saw offensive growth. We've been seeing offensive growth where this team put up 40-plus points in the first half for the third game in the last 4. They're getting off to quicker starts. They just can't finish down the stretch. And last night it fell on coaching and their star player in Jalen Quinn. Jalen Quinn just hit 1,000 career points, 100 steals, scores 30-plus points in the, let's see what it says here on my note, the second game in the last 4 games. Played tremendously. But down the stretch, the final 2 possessions, that is what I'm going to remember from Jalen Quinn in this game. I'm not going to remember the 38 points, or it wasn't 38. I think he had 33. I'm not going to remember that he notched in over 1,000 career points or 100 steals. I'm going to remember the bad IQ from your veteran leader down the stretch. Drake, down by 3. He takes 2 dribbles, doesn't look anyone's way, fires off a 3 that hits the side of the backboard. He's at the top of the key, and it comes nowhere near the rim. And you're sitting there going, you have like a minute 12 on the clock. You don't need a 3 there. You're only down 3. Your whole night, you've been driving to the rim, getting to the free throw line. And also, the team as an offensive whole, you had Carr playing exceptionally well. He ties a career high with 14 points. Eli Shetler, that ankle seems just fine. He puts up 15 points. And Shetler, all of his makes were from the three-point line, and a lot of them were assisted by Jalen Quinn, who did a tremendous job for 38 minutes of driving and kicking it, swinging it to the corner where Eli Shetler was. And then biggest moment, lights are bright. The team has been on a scoring drought. They didn't score a single point in those final 2 minutes. But you've been on the scoring drought. Do what this offense does best, and that's go downhill, inside-out game. You also have Carr, who's been playing exceptionally well. And he takes 2 dribbles, doesn't even look to pass, and fires up an ill-advised 3 that doesn't come anywhere near the rim. So then Drake, with about 20 seconds left, and Jalen Quinn goes downhill, attacking, and no kick out, no ball movement. It was just 1v5 like we've seen this offense struggle with doing all season long, where hand it off to Quinn. Let's hope he can do something. And doesn't come close to really scoring, trying to foul bait, which I never feel like is a great coaching strategy. And so I saw a lot of people angry about it, so I'm glad I wasn't the only one. So I asked Coach Henderson was that the game plan to not pass the ball once in that 20 seconds? You're down by 3. You've had a great success of driving and kicking out. And it was no play for hopefully an and one. So I asked Coach Henderson if that was the game plan. Here's his answer.
We're trying to get Jalen downhill. There's a lot of time on the clock. And so we wanted to get downhill. We got the guy to miss both free throws, which was good. There's still 20-some seconds left, and we thought that was plenty of time to get downhill, hopefully get an easy basket, and then get him back to the foul line.
And I respect Coach Henderson. I really do. I respect him for answering that question honestly, of saying that, yeah, that was the plan. And I know he knows basketball 1,000 times better than me. I don't want to come off sounding like I know more than Henderson. I do just question it. Where you have Deshaun Thomas. You have Eli Shetler. Aaliyah can hit threes. I know you don't necessarily need a 3, but if you're not going to take a 3, you need a better look than 1v5, drive into a congested paint, and pray for an and one. I know Quinn was playing fantastic, and he had gotten a lot of and ones throughout the night, but there's 8 higher percentage shots. We talked with Coach Henderson near Christmas, near the New Year, about Federico and why isn't he taking mid-range shots when he's just comfortable taking threes. And he talked about, well, it's just not a high percentage shot for him. If we're breaking down by numbers on high percentage shots, 20 seconds left in the game, I don't think it's high percentage to hope that the refs are on your side. Very disappointing. I knew Valpo was going to play good. I honestly wasn't shocked Drake lost the game. It still doesn't help with the pain. Very disappointed in the way Drake closed out the game as they continue to struggle down the stretch. So they've now lost four in a row, and it doesn't get any easier this week. Thursday night, They host UIC, a team that beat them in Chicago, a team that is up and coming in the Valley, a team that is all offense, and they struggled with the Valpo offense, and I believe they'll probably struggle with UIC. And then that 3-point defense, that perimeter defense, again, has been really bad. And I asked Coach Henderson about, what are you seeing X's and O's wise? And it seems like it's the same old, which falls on the coaching staff. Why is it that this team is missing their routes, which Coach Henderson told us? Why does it seem like this team can't communicate defensively? And that's all what the coaches need to figure out. And at this point, it's very disappointing that they haven't been able to really address that to this point in the season. And it could just be as simple as maybe this team just doesn't gel, which we've talked about on the show. So UIC is going to challenge this team defensively to their limit. Valpo did it. And it's starting to feel more. I know Henderson talked at the start of the year at the skating rink with the Hometown Hoops team, or Hometown Hoops day, where it was, we want to come out and be the best defensive team. We want defense to be our identity. It's not going to happen for this squad, where it's now, all right, let's hope we do the Belmont route. Let's score 98. They can score 96 as long as we score 97, is how it's starting to feel for Drake. And UIC is going to be a tough challenge. All right, it's Wednesday, so we have some Missouri Valley Conference standings to talk about. First, with the men's team, Belmont starting to get more separation, even with losing. You had Murray State lose to UNI, which UNI starting to look good. And Drake, you have UIC Thursday, and then you have to go on the road to your in-state rival at the McLeod Center on Sunday. And they have Bradley continuing to win. Bradley continues to just look better and better each week. So before we talk about the games to watch this week in the Valley, as a whole, not a good year for the conference, in my opinion. You don't have a single team with a win streak over 3. Right now, UNI with the longest win streak at 3. You have the top tier teams like Murray State losing to middle tier and bottom tier teams. You have Belmont still losing games when it's like, okay, you kind of need that team to just absolutely dominate to make the conference actually get some national news at this point. Because if they're all just beating up on each other like they are, it just plays into why we don't see this conference get 2 bids. Why it's just a 1-bid league. It's been a bad year, an odd year in the Valley. Everyone just can beat anyone. But the top games to watch for this week, UNI at Belmont, big one on Thursday. That's going to be a lot of fun. You have the team that has separated itself in first place with Belmont, and then you have the Panthers right now who are starting to find that rhythm again. Leave it to Ben Jacobson, where you question the Panthers as they're on losing streaks, and all of a sudden, it's February. We're coming up to March. Shocker. Seems like this team is starting to figure things out. Yeah, it's because Ben Jacobson is a fantastic coach and a Hall of Fame coach. Sunday, lots of fun in the Valley. UNI versus Drake will be there, of course, at the McLeod Center. Super hyped. Can't wait to cover that one. Never been to the McLeod Center. You have Belmont and Murray State rematch from a couple of weeks ago. Top 2 teams in the conference. Must-watch TV. And then a fun one that maybe standing-wise, it doesn't have huge implications for the top seeds, of course, but just going to be a really fun game to watch, and that's Illinois State taking on UIC. Illinois State looking like they're starting to piece together a squad that is gelling, that we want to see. Can they just find consistency? And then UIC, just a team that I've explained to a lot of people that don't watch the Valley as like a Fred Hoiberg-esque team where it's like, we're just going to pop 33s and we're going to make you play defense for the full 40 because we are just fast-paced, offensive-minded, very versatile. We're going to make you work for it. So that's going to be a fun one as well. All right, on the women's basketball side, you have Murray State, Belmont, of course, still sitting there at 1-2. Bradley not far behind. We saw how good they were against Drake both times in these last few weeks. Drake continues to struggle with losing 5 straight. They have a big one coming up on Saturday against Indiana State, and then Valpo. So just talk about how things could always be worse. Still winless this season. 0-24, losing 24 straight. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Outside of the Drake game, Drake's must watch, of course. Outside of Drake, not a lot of must watch. You know, we talked about how the Drake women down the stretch, they don't have to really play any of the top tier teams. I think they play 2 of the top 6 teams. A lot of schedules are built that way, where it's just a lot of the bottom tier going head to head, and those top tier teams seem like they're going to be able to go on a nice little win streak. So those are your Missouri Valley Conference standing updates. A huge thank you to Kelly's Little Nipper, of course, for sponsoring this show. A huge thank you to Coach Woodley, as always, for just being willing to be a part of this Media Row family, the Drake family, throughout this year. We wish him the best of luck at Rutgers, and super excited to see who Drake hires here in the next coming months. Thank you to each and every one of you, the listener, for tuning in this week. We have our big Friday show coming up where we will preview the in-state rivalry. We will recap the Flames and Bulldogs from Thursday, and then who knows? I wasn't expecting that Woodley news. We may have more surprising news coming up this week as well. Huge thank you to each and every one of you. We'll see you on Friday for a brand new edition of the Media Row Podcast.